Good evening. In today's session, let's discuss regarding banking sector reforms in India. Whenever I say banking sector reforms, the first committee and the only committee that comes to our mind is Narasimham Committee. Regarding Narasimham Committee, we are going to discuss later. But let me tell you one thing. Whenever we are using the word reform is always for the betterment. Reform is a change, and that change is a positive change. That is the reason why when you look at the banking sector reforms, those reforms did not happen only during 1990s, but it happened much before also. Say for example, I told you in the year 1935, Reserve Bank of India has been established, and that bank in the initial days was under the control of the private owners, but it has been nationalized in the year 1949, we have discussed, and that is also considered to be one of the reforms in the banking sector. Similarly, in the year 1969, when Srimati Indira Gandhi was the Prime Minister of India, 14 banks were nationalized. Again, 6 more banks were nationalized in the year 1980 during the regime of the same Prime Minister, same person, Srimati Indira Gandhi, as the Prime Minister. So these are all considered to be the reforms. So today we talk about the direct benefit transfer. So today we talk about the opening of so many accounts for the common people, and today we talk about the Dhan Yojana. All these are considered to be the banking sector reforms. That is the reason why. So we will be discussing in sequence, and during this particular discussion, we will also come across with the Narasimham Committee and the recommendations of the Narasimham Committee. So what are all these things we are going to have a discussion? Clear? So stay tuned. We'll be going ahead and discussing regarding objectives of banking sector reforms in India. So what are the objectives first of all? If you look at the first one clearly, the banking sector has undergone several changes. Obviously, whenever we go for the reforms, there will be changes, and the changes are for the betterment. Clear? Say for example, earlier when we had only public sector banks, PSBs, so there used to be so much of lethargy in the system. So there was a lack of efficiency in the system. But when we opened the banking sector for the private participation, so when we allowed the private sector to enter into the banking, so when we allowed the foreign banks to come to India, that led to the competition in the banking system. And the government banks, so-called public sector banks, also started competing with the private banks. Otherwise, their survival will be in a doubt. That is the reason why. So when you open a particular sector for the private participation, that will lead to competition, and competition brings in quality. The same thing happened even in the banking sector. Clear? And all these changes are aimed at the betterment. I told you sometime back, wherever we use the word, the so-called reform, that is always for the betterment. Clear? So what are these objectives? So first one is the banking transformation. Right? This led to the efficiency and stability of the system. Right? So today there are so many changes that were brought in the the banking sector. Earlier, so much of efficiency was not existing, and this was made possible because of the banking transformation. Second one is the internal integration. These reforms, meaning the reforms that were implemented in India with respect to banking sector, they helped in bringing international standards to the market. It helped ensure the banks integrated with the global markets. Otherwise, what will happen? In this competition, you need to compete, you need to increase your standards to reach to the international level. Otherwise, the banks which will not follow the standards will perish. That is the reason why today our public sector banks are also competing with the the private sector banks. Clear. And we invited foreign banks also, that led to increase the standard of Indian banks to the international level. That's the reason why if you look at Indian banks also, they are operating in various countries today, and that all became possible because of the economic reforms, and especially with respect to the banking sector. Am I clear? Now let's go ahead. Next, the reforms have brought in competitiveness, and reforms also brought in the social objectives. So what do you mean by this? So when I say these reforms aim at the social betterment, it ensured access banking services for all. Earlier, let me tell you, my dear friends, for a common man, opening a bank account was really, a cumbersome process, because the process was so tedious. Even for a person who is educated, it was very difficult to open the bank account also. Then what about the innocent person? Then what about the uneducated person, poor person? It was really very tedious for them. But what happened? So the reforms have brought in the with the social objective also, so that the banking services will be made available for all the people in the country equally. That is the reason why every person, almost every person, or at least every family, has got an account in the banks today, and all was made possible because of the reforms that were introduced in the banking sector. Am I clear? And if you look at the first one, you know the meaning of the competitiveness. When you open a particular sector, that will bring in competitiveness, right? You need to compete with the others in order to survive in the market, in order to exist in the market. That is possible only by increasing the quality. That is the basic idea. Clear? So from here, let's go ahead and discuss more points. Look at this now, right? So when it comes to the next objective, credit allocation, the reforms helped eliminate credit rigidities. It helped get easy loans for people to promote economic growth. Clear? I told you just now, opening account was itself a difficult task at the time, right? And even after opening the account also, getting credit was also very tedious. It was an Herculean task. But now the credit allocation became easy. People started getting loans very easy because of the reforms. That is the reason why sometimes you will also receive a call from the bank. Clear? And they will ask you, do you require any loan? Getting loan is very easy now. That's the reason why whenever you visit your bank, they will also ask you whether you require any loan, and we are going to offer loan at very reasonable interest rates. So meaning competitiveness is increasing. All became possible because of the the so-called reforms. Next is the strengthen the banks. The reforms ensured that banks were stable despite economic shocks or fluctuations. These measures aimed at making Indian banks stronger. I'll tell you one example. We have introduced the reforms in the year 1991, right, in a huge manner, that really stabilized the Indian banking system. That is the reason why when there was a crisis in the year 2008, that was a global crisis. Almost all economies got crushed during the time, and Indian economy survived those shocks during that time. That's all because of the the reforms that were introduced in the banking sector. It does not mean that India did not get the shock. Though there were shocks, we could able to withstand to those shocks. So this is the basic idea, and all became possible because of the so-called banking sector reforms in India. Clear? Next, if you look at note I have given, in the year 1947, very fantastic year for India, we got independence. There were only 5,000 branches of the 664 private banks. So there were existing, the private banks, and they had just 5,000 branches, throughout India. Clear? Today, nearly 1,40,000 branches of 12 government run banks, 21 private sector lenders, 43 regional banks, and 46 foreign banks are operating in the country. Meaning, if you look at the time, there were just 5,000 branches. Today we have 1,40,000 branches. That's the reason why wherever you go today, right, everywhere you can see branch of one bank or the other. Clear? And in the during earlier times, if you want to withdraw the money, so you have to compulsorily go to the bank, stand in the queue for a long number of hours, then you are supposed to withdraw the money. So it was a holiday, you cannot withdraw the money. Clear? But over a period of time, we have introduced ATMs. So through ATMs you can withdraw the money at any time. And when the ATMs were introduced in those days earlier, if you are a customer of a particular branch, if you are a customer of a particular bank, only from that particular bank ATM you can withdraw, right? So not from other banks. But over a period of time, again the reforms were introduced. So though you are a customer of any bank, you can go to the ATM of any other bank and you can still withdraw the money. So these are all the the flexibilities that were introduced in the banking system, and all became possible because of the reforms, my dear friends. Am I clear? So like this, large number of reforms have been introduced in India. Now look at this. So when it comes to July 19th 1969, right? So what happened this day? I have highlighted, underlined. Is that okay? On July 19th 1969, Srimati Indira Gandhi government had nationalized 14 largest private commercial banks through the Banking Companies Acquisition and Transfer of Undertakings Ordinance of 1969. You know the meaning of the word ordinance. Ordinances are issued by the President of India, of course on the advice of the Council of Ministers headed by the Prime Minister. At that particular time, Srimati Indira Gandhi was the Prime Minister of India. She advised the President of India to promulgate an ordinance, and that ordinance is called the the Banking Companies Acquisition and Transfer of Undertakings. So through this particular ordinance, 14 banks have been nationalized in the year 1969, okay, and decided to retain more than 50% of their stake. If you have more than 50% of the stake, you will have a say. This decision greatly impacted the economic reforms of 1991. How we are going to discuss this next. Kindly remember the date, right, on which the 14 private banks have been nationalized. It happened in the year 1969. It was on July 19th. Okay, next. Look at this. Second time, it was on April 15th 1980. The central government has nationalized another 6 private banks with a total capitalization of 200 crores. Right? First time July 19th 1969, 14 banks. Second time April 15th 1980, 6 banks. And one more important thing is that both the times the Prime Minister was Srimati Indira Gandhi. Kindly remember this. Similarly, when you look at the State Bank of India, the largest public sector bank in India today, is that okay? That SBI was took over in the year 1955. This is a very important point. Please write down. While the seven subsidiaries were acquired in the year 1960, until 1995, these public sector banks controlled nearly 90% of the total market. Clear? SBI and its subsidiaries controlled the 90% of the total market up to the year 1995. And the remaining share was held by private banks. As the new generation private banks started their operations in India, the market share of the public sector banks have dropped to 60% from 90% in the past 25 years. Is that clear? Very, very important. So that is how the private sector is spreading its tentacles in the banking sector. That is the reason why the share of the public sector banks from 90% it has been dropped down to 60%. Is that okay? So that was like a big challenge for all the government banks, and they also started increasing, improving, and providing the qualitative services with high standards. Clear? So this is what exactly happened. So when it comes to RBI, I told you already. So this was nationalized in the year 1949, and please remember it was nationalized on January 1st, 1949. Is that okay? So remaining points you please read out. So these points we already know, and I am just moving to the next page. Look at this. Similarly, the war in the year 1962 and the war in the year 1968 hit Indian economy very hard. So whenever economy is hit hard, it is the banking sector that is really getting collapsed. Is that okay? Right? Until 1968, only major urban centers in India had access to the private banks. That's it. Only urban areas. But if you look at India, even today also, large number of people are living in the rural areas. Am I clear? And they did not have any access. But today, right, to a larger section of the society, the banking system is accessible today, and that all belongs to the greatness should go to the banking sector reforms. Clear? Next. So next, let's go to next point and let's have a discussion here. Look at this. So we have a question, right? We love questions. One of the primary goals of bank nationalization was promoting rural banking. Do you agree with this? So you are asked to consider the following statements. This statement is very much correct. So meaning is simple. If you ask the private banks at the time, if you ask the private banks to, even today also, if you ask the private banks to establish its branches in the rural areas, they won't, because they don't get the market. Clearly, they don't get the market and they cannot make the profits. That is the reason why the private banks were they are more they are more associated with the urban area only. That is the reason why government has decided to go for the nationalization of the banks so that branches can be established in the rural areas. Please remember this one. This statement is correct. So once I say A is correct, this is not my answer. Clear? You know the logic. Rural banking could guarantee financial inclusion. Absolutely correct. If you want to include the people, that is called financial inclusion, then you have to bring in the rural people also. So the statement B is also correct. Is that okay? So then obviously this is also not my question, not my option. But if I go to option C here, after independence, the public trust in banks was low, and that caused a major hindrance in developing the banking industry in India is very much right. Is that okay? So, the confidence was so low, right? and this is what happened, immediately after the independence. Clear? So statement A, B and C all are correct. So our answer should be option 4. Am I clear? Very, 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 very important one. You must know all these points very closely, my dear friends. Then it will become easy for you to recognize the correct option in the examination. So what should be the answer? Option 4 is the answer. So let's go ahead. Next comes the two important revolutions in India. Green Revolution and White Revolution. What are they? Regarding Green Revolution, we have already discussed few points, and we have recollected the father of Indian Green Revolution, late Shri M.S. Swaminathan. All credit must go to that great person. Today, we are sustainable with agriculture because of the contributions of Dr. M.S. Swaminathan. Clear? That was the Green Revolution. So regarding Green Revolution, again we will be discussing when we discuss about agriculture. And in the year 1969, White Revolution. This is called Operation Flood. This is called Operation Flood, or this is a White Revolution. And the father of White Revolution was late Verghese Kurian. Please remember this one. Is that okay? So they got boost after the bank nationalization. Very, very, very important one. So meaning, the people have started getting the credit from the banks. That all happened after the nationalization of the banks. That is the reason why, one of the reasons why, the Green Revolution and the White Revolution got a boost in India. India's aim was to become self-sufficient in food grain production. Yes. So that is possible only when the people get the credit. And the people will get the credit through the public sector banks. Because, private sector cannot give loans to, the rural people or common people at the time. Today the situation is different. At the time, so because if they are not in a position to pay back, that will become very difficult for the private banks to collect from them. Is that clear? So the output of national income going towards gross domestic savings almost doubled in the year 1970. Meaning the concept of nationalization that was introduced in the year 1969, that helped to boost Indian economy. Right? Next. So we have a question, one more question here. Look at this. Consider the following statements. Banks became less productive and profitable following the nationalization. Competition between banks was significantly reduced after they were nationalized. The banks witnessed more political and bureaucratic meddling in their operations. Clear? This has also contributed to non-performing assets (NPAs) and frauds in the public sector banks. Even today also banks, in certain banks, the frauds are taking place. Right? Sometimes they will come to the notice of the people, sometimes they don't. Clear? So the people, who think that they are highly intelligent or highly smart, they will try to cheat the banks. Sometimes we read in the newspaper, even the bank managers and the banking staff is also a part of the, this fraud. Is that okay? Right? So at that particular time, this technology was not available. Today, at least because of the technology, you are able to catch hold of these frauds, and we are sending them behind the bars. Right? So we are sending them behind the bars today. So that was not the situation. Clear? So these are all were the flaws at that particular time. Clear? So let's go to the next page. So look at this. All the statements are very, very correct, and you should be in a position to answer these type of questions. Clear? Next is the Jan Dhan Yojana, another very important reform, announced on August 15th, 2014 by the Prime Minister from the ramparts of this Red Fort, and it was launched on August 28th, 2014. Please remember this one, Jan Dhan Yojana. Government is giving subsidies to the people, and those subsidies must be credited to their accounts. In order to credit subsidies to their accounts, they should have the accounts first of all. But where are the accounts? No bank is coming forward to open the accounts. So that was the time when the Prime Minister spoke to RBI Governor, and Prime Minister asked the RBI Governor that is there any possibility to open the accounts of all these people. RBI Governor said, sir, it is difficult, but not impossible. Then immediately Prime Minister said, make it possible. That's it. So meaning the Prime Minister was so committed that he wanted to open the accounts to all the poor people who are going to get the benefits through the subsidies. Before that, what happened? Before that, from the central government, the money is released, it will come to the states. From states, it will go to districts, mandals, then it will go to the village level. By the time, the money is, being handled by so many people, lots of corruption has been taken place. So by the time the money reaches the people, the real beneficiary, the money was getting diluted. So with whatever the purpose the government is giving the subsidies, that purpose is not being served because of the corruption. How to eliminate this corruption? Use the technology, transfer money from the account of central government directly to the account of the beneficiary. There is no middleman at all. So no person is coming to the picture. If the people are coming, together, if these people are encountering with each other, then only the concept of the, corruption comes into the picture. But by using the technology, from one account you transfer the money to other accounts. Like this, you have crores of people in the country. Let the money be transferred to the beneficiaries' accounts directly. That is called a direct benefit transfer, DBT. And that is possible only by opening the accounts. That is called Jan Dhan Yojana. It was put forward by the Prime Minister of India, accepted by the Governor of RBI, and RBI instructed the public sector banks to open the accounts. But what are the requirements? Aadhaar and a mobile number, that's it. So Aadhaar and mobile number is really enough. So with just Aadhaar number, Aadhaar identification, accounts were opened. So once the money is, this credited to the beneficiary's account, that was intimated, that is being intimated to the beneficiary through an SMS. That is the reason why, so that was so important at the time. So today almost all the families in the country, they got the accounts, bank accounts, which was impossible earlier. It became possible because of the technology, and of course because of the commitment of the government and our banking sector too. Clear, these are all the reforms. So that is the reason why, so today the number of people who are going to the banks has been reduced, right? So people, so instead of going to the bank, now they are going to the ATMs and withdrawing the money. Instead of transferring the money from one account to the other account, so earlier you need to go to the bank and deposit the check over there. So today there is no necessity. You add the account of the beneficiary and transfer the money directly. And today you also have the UPI system. So the transactions are becoming very, very easy today, and all the credit must go to our reforms that have been introduced in India very, very, very systematically. Am I clear? More than 44 billion basic bank accounts, right, of which 55% are held by women, have been opened as a part of the Dhan Yojana program as proposed by the Prime Minister. This is what exactly happened during that time. Large number of accounts have been opened, and it was launched in the year 2014, August 28th. Just now I told you. And the total credit balance in the accounts currently exceeds the 1.30 trillions. Clear? Our direct benefit transfer program has improved, result in significant cost saving for the government. How? Money is released by the central government to the state government. From states, it should go to the, they will withdraw the money that will go to the, the district level. From there, the people will have to move to the mandal level. From there, mandal level, they have to move to the village level. So you are physically carrying the currency, and the people are carrying it. So you are wasting your time, you are wasting your energy. Instead of that one, use the technology, and the money is getting transferred directly to the beneficiary's account. Very, 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 very important one. Am I clear? Right. Look at this last line. According to the government data, public sector banks are responsible in opening 98% of such accounts. Very, 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 very important. Am I clear? Next. Next. Our society is in transition. The ability to coexist is necessary. Private banks have been crucial in fostering competition and technological descriptions, as well as increasing the efficiency and speed of the delivery system. Right? So the meaning of this is nothing but, today there is an efficiency in the system, there is an accuracy in the system, there is no delay in the system, and all happened because of the banking reforms, especially what we have introduced in the year 1991. Am I clear? So these are the points. Next. So next, let's go ahead and discuss more points here. Right? So we have, so this is about the latest technology. Right? In 2020, even the WhatsApp also started, launched, UPI payment service in India, and this all belong to the, how exactly the artificial intelligence, the chatbot or robotic process that is being used in our system. That is the reason why, if you want to approach the customer care, right, so most of the times, so nobody is answering from there, but you are getting the answers through chatbot. Clear? So the machines are giving the answer. So like this, the technology has been, being used here. Now, next one is which of the following statements is or true regarding the banking sector reforms in India? Very, very, very important one. This is a process of implementing changes to improve efficiency, stability, and transparency in the banking industry. Without any doubt, you can say yes to this, and I can say no to option 2. Clear? B. It involves regulatory and structural measures to enhance financial stability, promote competition, improving governance, addressing the financial inclusion. That is also correct. So I can eliminate this also. Right? When it comes to C, it helps to resolve non-performing loans. That is also correct. Then our answer should be option 4. Very, 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 very important. Am I clear? Next. Right? So this is the answer. Got it? Next. So you have another question here. Kindly have a look at this. Which of the following statements is or true regarding the Bharatiya Mahila Bank? Bharatiya Mahila Bank. Right? Where is this Bharatiya Mahila Bank now? Is it existing? It has got merged into SBI now. But with the intention with which the Bharatiya Mahila Bank was established was a great one. Clear? So regarding this Bharatiya Mahila Bank, what are the correct statements? It was established on November 19th. November 19th is former Prime Minister late Srimati Indira Gandhi's birth anniversary. So November 19, 2013, it was inaugurated by then Prime Minister of India, Dr. Manmohan Singh. Right, absolutely correct. So then I can remove this option 2. It is India's second women bank. What was the first one? Right? I'll tell you. One of the key objectives of the bank is to focus on the banking needs of women and promote economic empowerment of the women. That is very much right. So statement A is correct, statement C is also correct. Regarding statement B, I'll come to this now. Number 4, as a part of banking reforms and to ensure greater banking outreach to women, the bank was merged with the SBI on April 1st, 2017. This is correct. Is that okay? So statement A is correct, C is correct, D is also correct. But when it comes to statement B, whether it is correct or wrong, let's try to find it out now. Kindly have a look at this. Right? So this is India's second women bank. That statement is wrong. Right? So this is India's first women bank. So this is not our answer. So this should be our answer, please. Very, 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 very important one. So this is our answer. Option 3 is our answer, not option 4. Kindly make a note of this very clearly. Right? And when it comes to Bharatiya Mahila Bank, it was not the second women bank in India. It was the first women bank in India. That is the reason why it was glorified a lot. Clear? So like this, so we had to make a change here. So option B is wrong. Sorry, statement B is wrong. So our answer should be option 3. Clear? Am I clear? So this is regarding, banking sector reforms. In the next session, we'll be discussing regarding Narasimham Committee report and its recommendations. What exactly it has recommended, let's try to understand in the next session. Thank you so much, and I wish you all very, very good luck.